guys, welcome back to my channel, and today we're gonna talk about the newly released Kiwi ears Orchestra Lite 2. This video is gonna depart in 3 parts. First part, what's in the box, we're very familiar, and the second part, I will analyze the whole history of the orchestra lines, and then final rating. Now let's dive into it. Let's start it with what's in the box. Okay, here's all the accessories and I've laid out from the box. Let's start it with the IEMs. I think it's really stunning. Look at the faceplate. The faceplate is like a metallic honeycomb meshed on top, and we got the Kiwi ears and orchestra on the side. Then paired with the translucent mica-like design. Like you can see all the layering, all the light, transfer the light, and it's really beautiful. It's like combined with the magnetic and the nature. And let's look at the back shell. We can see that it's whole resin filled and there is no venting holes. The only venting holes is the nozzle tubes. We can see the nozzle tubes is a little bit bigger than the others, and from this side we can see 2 huge drivers. And it's not emphasized and it didn't explain on the website, but it looks really unique. And then we see the dynamic drivers on the side with the Kiwi ears logo on it. It's really precise and beautiful. And then let's move on. Here are 2 boxes of ear tips with the Kiwi logo on it, and there is a pretty big upgrade, you know. They never come with the ear tip cases like this, and you got it 4 different types for ear tips, and each set width is ML size. There's only one small nose because the nozzle is 6.6 millimeter, which is slightly larger than the more common 6.2 millimeter and so on. So you will want the ear tips that wider. So for example, the red tips with the smoky outside, this kind of ear tips, I'm usually used with the Kiwi earphones, but now they're on the tighter side on this one. When I'm using the red cord, the stream, like the upper treble, will leak, it causing a loss of details. So my suggestion is that you'd better use the yellow ear tips. When I'm using the yellow ear tips, even if it's with a small size, it sells really good for me. Alright, now let's move on. They've upgraded this vertical open case with a texture like woven interior, kind of like stripped graining fabric. And inside it's lined with suede. Now here inside we got the cable. It's slightly thick, like we can see 4 braided copper cable. It feels really sturdy and looks really clean. Right, that is all for the what's in the box. And now let's move on to the sound analyze part, and this time I'm gonna do it a little bit differently. I'm gonna analyze through the Orchestra series, lined up with when it was launched. Like I will start it with the Orchestra and the Orchestra Lite, then the Orchestra II. Now let's start with the Orchestra. It's a 8BA and retail for $499 USD, but for Black Friday you can get it for $429. It's a pretty old release. It's more like 2 or 3 years ago or 4 years ago. It's their first high graded line from the Kiwi ears. So this is the Orchestra. The original Orchestra, it's famous for its really balanced and precise tuning. And here you can get the graph while I'm sharing my sound impressions together. As you guys can see, it's a really flat bass part to the mid-range, really typical medium neutral tuning. And to my ear, I will only share my personal impressions of the orchestra. The original Orchestra is very balanced sound IEM. Like I said, its bass quantity is quite low, but the transparent and transpirations is very clean, and the sub bass reaches its moderate dives, like the moderate dip, and the soundstage feels very natural and comfortable. It's not that deep, and there isn't much coloration of the bass part, and the decay speed is moderate and transparent across the whole spectrum. It's excellent. Now, the vocal part, I think the vocal positioning isn't like overly forward, very close to your ears or intimate. It's tuned to sound natural and like true to source, and very suitable for like you're working as music mastering. Very good for monitoring or studio style presentation. And the mid-range instruments are like disciplines and well behaved with clear definition. Reverb and overtones are well controlled. There's not much of that, and it's without any addition coloration. Again, now the treble part. The treble is clean and airy, and the instrument at the treble part have like high fidelity and feels detail with very good separations, and the layering is distinct with good definition and clarity, giving the whole presentation precise character. And the ultra treble part detail is like slightly less prominent than that you'd expect it from modern IEMs of the same price range, and which is, I think, it's understandable considering it's like released a long time ago. But the treble extension is still good, and it avoids harshness, and the detail or treble is really clean and creamy. I think it's really detailed. That is one of the highlights of it. And as for build and presentation, it feels refined and premium. Even years ago, the packaging was quite nice, and I personally like the color of the stock cable and the leather texture carrying case. And the faceplate design shows thoughtful style. Like under the light, it looks like a black marble design, and while under the UV light, it gives off a blue glow. So it's really amazing. And altogether, the price feels very fair for that what it delivers. And all BA drivers were custom from Sonya and Noel's units, so both quality and cost were well justified. So I think it's a good product for this range still. And the next one, we're gonna talk about the Orchestra Lite. It's a light version of Orchestra. The Orchestra Lite continues the neutral and transparent style of the orchestra, but it comes more options of the colors, and it's whole transparent. I think it's super for like the younger generations, but I think our ages will feel the orchestra is beautiful. And then we get more bass at the Orchestra Lite and more treble details as well. But all the drivers were replaced with the Kiwi ears custom dynamic drivers. So, but I think it's also showing a growth of Kiwi ears driver development. So it's more budget, more color, and tuning upgrade. Now let's take a look at the graph. Oh wait, I forget to mention that the Orchestra Lite is also the 8BA drivers. For the Orchestra Lite, we won't go too deep here, but the key changes is the increase in bass quantity. We can see very clearly in the graph. And there is more reverb and deeper sub-bass extension and a more atmospheric presentation for like string and similar instruments at the mid part. And the treble brightness feels slightly lower than the original orchestra. And from the graph, obvious that the Lite has increased sub-bass for like a lot of dB, and it adds a bass shelf, I think, and giving it more depth and impact. And this also adds more ambient reverb to the mid-range instruments, and the mid-range tuning remains similar with the orchestra. And the treble on the Lite shows more micro adjustments. You can see more peaks and dips at the treble part, and this works in tandem with the boosted bass to restore the necessary treble detail, even with the change to self-development drivers. And notably, around 16,000 Hz, there is a final peak, improving treble air and openness and keeping overall balance close to the original orchestra. And that said, even though the orchestra The original orchestra's trebles generally rolls off at 15,000 without the extra boost. The original orchestra that still has the more delicate and more translucent treble. But given the price and the driver difference, I think the gap feels totally reasonable. Now let's finally move on to the Orchestra II. From the Lemon line, you know that it's directly upgraded from the Orchestra, but it's upgraded to 10BA now, and the price it's sitting between the Orchestra and Orchestra Lite. It's like 349 USD in the middle. I think the highlight part is also the drivers. This time they also used all custom Kiwi ears developed drivers. Like I mentioned at the what's in the box part, we can see the two huge drivers. They didn't explain what it is, but I think it's designed for the subwoofers, and which also shows like Kiwi's been like developing their technology and the driver tuning and the maturity at the technology part. Now let's talk about the most important part, how does it sound? And as usual, I will blend my subjective listening expressions all together with the graphs. Now you may have the graph first. But before that, here is a very striking improvement, that it's the refinement in string instrument texture and micro detail reaches a new level compared to the last two generations, and the mid-high details are beautifully rendered, and the bass maintain a comfortable ambience and pleasant overtones like the Orchestra Lite, and the overall dynamic balance is both louder and more delicate at the same time. So that is the first impression I got for the Orchestra II. Now let's talk about the bass part. The bass quality feels aligned with the Orchestra Lite and more than the original orchestra, and compared to the Lite, the separation is handled very well. The mid-range instruments get more ambience without like smearing decay. Decay is fast and there is no excessive reverb. And kick drums feels more powerful, and the bass guitar more meaty and solid, and it doesn't mask the mid-range tones. And the vertical soundstage depths improves, and the sub bass reaches, I think, deeper, but aligned with the Orchestra Lite. And for the graph, it's clear that the Orchestra II follows the Lite's sub-bass profile and elevate relatively to the original, and more suitable for hi-fi listening. It's not that suitable for the like monitoring now, and it's more engaging, more fun. Moving into mids, the biggest change is the slightly higher 3K pick compared to the previous two modes, and making upper mid instruments sound brighter. And for the mid-range, to my ear, the vocal position continues the orchestra original style, mid placement and the neutral distance and great detail with no coloration. And the difference lies in mid-range instruments, like it's slightly brighter, more creamy in texture at the Orchestra II, and it's more refined and very transparent, and the instrument separation is excellent, and the micro details are like abundant. And on the graph, we can see that the lower treble and the mid treble shows a gradual wave pattern of peaks and dips, and descending smoothly until around 7,000 to 8,000 Hz, where it dips. And this approach keeps the detail rich while fixing the original orchestra's slightly notable sibilance. Yes, and beyond that, the upper treble gets a small lift at around 9,000 to 10,000 Hz. And at 12,000 Hz, it still hasn't fully rolled off, and its sound pressure level at the upper treble is even higher than the previous two. And this creates a more airy and transparent treble that complements the earlier sections and achieving a strong dynamic balance. And the treble part, the treble sound to me, it's like more detailed and airy. This is very like the highlight of it. Well, less greenness compared to the original orchestra, and the layering also improves. The dryness is reduced, and vocal sibilance is better controlled, and brightness and openness increase noticeably, and the detail retrieval surpasses the original orchestra. So that is what I like the most about the Orchestra II. So in conclusion, I think Orchestra II has a more atmospheric and characterful bass. It's more fun, and it keeps a relatively balanced signature while fixing the shortcomings of the first generation's treble and the lack of clarity in the second generation Orchestra Lite. And plus, it uses fully self-developed drivers. So I think it's impressive. The overall flavor is distinct and dynamically balanced, with stronger bass and creamier yet bright mid and highs. For Kiwi ears as a brand, I think this is a significant step forward. In terms of comfort, I originally thought the larger nozzle might feel like intrusive, but after testing, the isolation and the fit are surprisingly good, and I actually like this whole package a lot. So above all, I think that it's all the reasons that explains why I love the Orchestra II, and I think it's a good final rating. I could give it a 9 out of 10. It's like a very high rating. That is all my take on the Orchestra II. If you have any chance and you want to buy it, you're welcome to leave a comment at the comment section. By the way, the last giveaway of 10K, the winner is already announced at the description part of the last video. You guys can check it, and also I'll pin the winner's comment at the comment section. Please be careful of your informations because there's a lot of scams. There's already 2 guys being scammed, like they're bringing the prize. It's not. So be careful for your personal informations and take care. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.